Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Ray is being curious in the
Hi,
background.
Ray. Don't make eye contact with the dead doll. Ray is going for the doll. If you
Ray
are
is going for the doll
listening
portrait.
on an audio device and wondering what's happening, join us over on Patreon to watch Ray attack this haunted portrait of a doll.
And to see the new booby wallpaper in Amanda's office.
I do have a fancy new office, and I am obsessed.
We got a lot going on the video.
So much.
So
Yeah, Lucy-
definitely get on our level on our Patreon page.
Yeah, $1 a month on up, people. And you get to look at these faces.
We're basically giving it away at those prices.
Or at
You're
least we should
practically
be.
getting the cow for free.
Practically.
Milk for free. Whatever.
Let us milk you on Patreon. Come on down. Get milked.
Get milk.
Cream all over our Patreon.
Get creamed. Come on down. Get milked.
Get milked.
On that note.
Relieve your rock hard teats on our Patreon page.
God. Oh, wow. Okay.
Who are we? Oh, Jesus.
Moving on. I'm Kenyon.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda. I'm milked.
I'm milked. I'm
This
tapped.
milk is cooked.
I'm thirsty.
So thirsty. I have water.
All right. Well, this week we have a very special gals pick.
I knew it. I knew it had to have been a gal's pick because I was like, I like this.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like the fan picks, but
Right.
the fan picks are fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the fan picks are extra dark or extra niche.
All times the fan picks are
Or
extra
both.
dark and extra niche.
I was trying to be
All
diplomatic. So we
Yes,
had
all fan picks.
we had a space carved out for a gal's pick. It had been a long time, and we selected the topic of forensic photography.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know we love a forensics episode. Yeah.
I'm very excited to learn.
Oh yeah, I get Lucy.
Like
Lucy
more.
usually goes off on these episodes.
I got a long segment today. I'm warning you right now.
I'm ready.
Yeah. it's
Also,
gonna be
for
good.
those listening, there's an air conditioning duct just to my right. So yes, I'm wearing half a sweatshirt. It's fine. It's not
Again.
a fashion
Wear.
statement.
If you want to see her half
not
of a
a snood.
sweatshirt, you'll
What's
have
a
to join us on
snood?
Patreon.
Isn't it like a wrap scarf?
Like a slanket.
Snood.
Never
Kinda.
heard of that. Like a pashmina?
A type of like a headgear
Oh, is
like
it
a
Canadian?
sack necklace that also holds hair. Whatever. It's fine.
This is confusing.
Okay.
Well, it's not that.
So, let's get right to the alcohol. Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing for forensic photography?
Well, I don't know about you, but I think a perfect pairing for a photography episode is wine with our faces on it.
Yes.
And
Cartoons.
while this label may not be a photograph, A, we wish it was, and B, it's based off of photographs of us.
Yeah.
So, you do the math.
Photographs from 12 years ago. And
Look at this photograph. Also, I really love our new rosé that we have out for this summer, and so I just really wanted to drink it. And this is a gal's pick, so why not pick wine that we really want to drink?
Mine
Great.
not.
So we're drinking the Gals Rosé today. For those of you who do not know, we have our own wine. So this is wine that we tasted, curated, worked hard on. The only thing we didn't actually put into this wine is blood, sweat, and tears.
You're welcome, because we
yeah.
were close.
That'll be a micro batch in the future.
That's a very niche micro batch. But
Not
this
vegan.
not. But this is a really, really gorgeous Grenache Cinsault rosé. It is a handcrafted rosé out of California, made by our amazing partners over at Blentique, and they are phenomenal, and we love them. And this is like the perfect summer rosé. And when we tasted it for the first time, it was like, oh, sassy, classy summer rosé.
I could hear the angels calling.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This is an all-day rosé.
It is an all-day rosé. It has like little hints of strawberry, a little bit of watermelon, like berry tea, but it isn't sweet. It's really nicely balanced. It's got a really light minerality, the perfect amount of acidity to just kind of cut through that sweetness and give you a nice, dry, clean finish on the palate. It is gorgeous. Like, it's effervescent, but not sparkling. It's like right on that cusp. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to drink just one bottle. I'm telling you right now, you won't be able to.
Also makes a great gift. I know in our friend group, we got a whole hell of a lot of summer birthdays.
Mm-hmm. That's true. All of you except me.
Yeah, and
you're just like late
September.
summer.
Yeah, I'm the end of September. I'm like the end of summer.
Sometimes it's still hot.
It's often still hot. Thanks, climate change.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does. It makes a really great gift. So if you want to drink out of our faces, you can head to wineandcrimepodcast.com and click on that wine tab. And all of the wine that we make is right there for you, as well as like upcoming pairings that we have. So it's a really fun little spot to check out on our website. One thing that I do not have right now, and I need to find it, it's missing since tearing apart my office, is my nice pop wine key.
I got one right here I can show
It actually might be in my purse, now that I think about it, because I brought it to the live show.
I can send you another one if you need it.
No, I think I have it. Oh, yeah. You have the
mine.
old one. I have slightly different one. Where it says nice pop on the back, not the side.
Oh, I
We've gone
have
through
two
a
of our
couple
old
versions.
versions of the wine key on my desk right now.
They're all great, honestly. But yeah, I'm just using a random wine key. It's not quite the same, but it'll do the trick. Are we ready?
We have new merch on the store.
Oh, yeah, we do.
So go check it out. That's all we're going to say because we got to get to the show. But
Yeah, we do. But yeah,
Go check it out.
Go check it out. Okay, ready to pop?
Yep.
Ready?
Here we go.
Ooh. Clear, effervescent pop.
Oh,
nice
that is a nice.
I love the color. The color is so vibrant.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
basically chose
cherry-ish
my office
almost.
color based off of this. Rosé.
Yeah. It looks really pretty in your office.
Doesn't she?
Yeah.
What a beaut.
All right. Well, Lucy, I know you're raring to go, so cheers. And what is our background and maybe psych for forensic photography?
Fuck, that rosé is good. Holy shit.
I'm drinking beer because it's hot as balls in my office right now, but
My office is
house guests
cold and
coming.
underground.
And so I know I'm going to be drinking a lot of our rosé this weekend with our house guests.
Nice. Okay. Forensic photography, also referred to as crime scene photography, records the initial appearance of the crime scene and physical evidence in order to provide a permanent record for the courts. A forensic photographer must photograph everything in case it will need to be used as evidence in court. All the photography must take place before the evidence has a chance to be disturbed. And one thing that I couldn't find any information about this, but every time I think about crime scene photographers, I think about how hard it must be to like walk through the crime scene without disturbing fucking anything.
Yeah.
Footprints that you can't even see necessarily.
Yeah, that would be a very delicate work. You have to be so diligent. And you're also like, it's not like a standard photographer where you're like, ooh, that's an interesting juxtaposition of like shape and color.
Must be all very unbiased.
Right.
Yeah. So in that sense, it is the opposite of like photography in a traditional creative artistic sense. It's the opposite of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So etymologically, the word photography comes from photos, which means light, and graphos, which means to write. So it's like writing with light.
Ooh,
Got
I
it.
like that.
I love that. That's very
Never
cool.
thought about that before.
Photography itself was sort of invented over like hundreds of years with multiple emerging technologies, but it could be argued that the first photograph was taken around the year 1800 by British inventor Thomas Wedgwood.
Ooh.
Over the next 30 years and around the world, many more attempts were made, but a lasting photograph proved to be evasive. So they found all these like chemicals and like surfaces where you could imprint something temporary on it, but it would always like fade.
Okay.
So they were just trying to find something that would fucking stay. And also that didn't take like hours and days to develop.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes it super difficult to like take photographs of people or animals or even like plants, nature, like anything that could move at all.
Like the one of the first images captured was like, you can hardly even fucking tell what it is, but it's like, I don't know if it's like through a window or off a balcony, but basically you can just see like a yard. And even that's like, if it's several hours,
Right.
the way the light shifts during the day, by the end, you can really hardly tell what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Wind, things flying by, ghosts.
Boo.
Exactly. Finally, in 1834, William Fox Talbot published his process utilizing negatives to process the images onto paper. And actually, I think one of his first attempts, he used white leather.
Ooh. Red leather, yellow leather.
You're kind of into white leather and duck
I
decoys.
think I'm into white leather and like mercury.
I mean, it is before Labor Day, so get that white leather out, honey.
So this was coming about at a time when government bureaucracies around the world, particularly in the West, were becoming more like professionalized, like on purpose, like they had their procedures down. So they were collecting more and also more accurate data about their citizens by using modern science.
Okay.
So around this time, I think we have like the Industrial Revolution, right? 1840s-ish.
Sure.
Lots of shit was happening. So
Yeah.
a lot of governments were like, you know what? We could do better given all of this new shit.
Okay.
So by the frickin' 1840s, so this was within like 10 years of the invention of modern photographs, which blew my mind, prison officials in Belgium were using photographs to document inmates, and by the 1850s, they were using photos to track repeat offenders.
Huh.
So photos preceded fingerprints
Oh,
by
yeah.
like a long time.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense because up until then, people could just lie about who the fuck they were.
Oh, yeah. The good old days.
Yeah.
For
Like,
real.
Prove
It was literally just like eyewitness accounts, like the human
Yeah.
ability to recognize faces.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
and the fact that like like humans lived in like smaller communities for the most part in society, so you could be like, it was
So and so.
three-fingered Bill or whatever. I don't
Well,
know.
that also caused, I'm sure, a lot of people to be wrongfully accused of a whole lot of things.
Oh,
like he
yeah.
has the, you know, the hook nose and the gray eyes. It's
Right.
old man Winkle.
yeah, exactly.
And you're like, excuse you, that's rude.
Yeah,
What did Winkle ever do to you?
Exactly.
I'm old man Talbot.
I love a good Talbots, though. Very classy stuff.
Talbots, man.
Talbots. It's been a long time since I wandered into a Talbot's.
Listen, every time anyone goes into a Talbot's, Unsinkable Helen gets
A
her
linen
wings.
gets its wings.
Yeah. It was the only place Helen wanted to
A
shop.
bolt of linen goes to the sky.
Yep.
Lots of like nautical stripes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like my shirt. I could have gotten this at Talbot's.
You could have.
I didn't, though.
Well, didn't need to ruin the magic for me, but
Sorry.
it's okay.
So around the same time, like 1850s, Swiss police photographed unfamiliar, these are Wikipedia's words, not mine, unfamiliar transient vagrants.
Okay.
So I think they were just kind of trying to keep track of who was in and out of their towns.
We've always been policing the poor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the transient.
Yep.
So these photographers were not necessarily professionals. Some of them were, but a lot of them were just like police on the force to like, hey, got a camera, time to play with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the photos ranged from mugshots to images of prisoners just like hanging out in their cells. They were not standardized at all.
Okay.
The 1870s brought several test cases to the United States courts where use of photography in criminal trials was upheld. Professional photographers would be employed to take posed portraits of the most serious criminals. So, like, the bad ones. They'd be like, come sit on my stool.
Get a full
We take
spread.
like a portrait of you.
Yeah.
Portrait mode. Around this time, the storage and archiving of these photographs was kind of becoming a problem because they were also thicker and larger than like a 4x6 photo that we have today.
And also probably like heat would play a factor in like the preservation of them. I'm imagining
Yeah.
a lot of like old-timey jails out west.
Yeah.
They had AC.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought this was really cool. Collections that they called rogues galleries were kind of cropping up all over the world. And these rogues galleries were organized according to types of offenses. So I saw a picture online. I don't think I dropped it on the drive, but it's like it looks like a library. And there's like just little square photos all over the walls, just all lined up. So you have like rapists, like muggers, you know.
Cattle thieves.
Yeah,
Necrophiles, tiers 1 through 10.
exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
love that.
Us Hashashins.
Yeah.
It's like when we went to the Mutter Museum in Philly and they just had that wall of skulls
Yeah.
that were all
Yeah.
labeled.
Like how they died, like kind of who they were, but most importantly, how they died.
Yeah, but then there were two that were just like dumb.
Oh yeah, there were
Yeah.
two that just said
lot of problematic
Really
shit
rough.
at the Mutter Museum.
Yeah.
I mean, I highly encourage a visit.
It's
but
historical.
Just think
We
of
have to-
everything
we
within
have
its
to-
historical context.
we have to acknowledge our history
Right.
and learn from it and be better tomorrow.
And then admire the megacolon.
The megacolon.
Why can't we have all of the above?
The
Yep.
big old bezoars.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
The drawers full of things that doctors have pulled out of people's like stomachs. and
Stomachs.
rectums.
Lucy's
the-
dining room is quickly becoming a Mutter museum.
Truth.
Yeah.
Like
the
when
wall
we were-
of eye diseases. Remember all the eye diseases?
Oh yeah. How could I forget?
I love
How
the
could
skin
I
diseases.
forget?
Yeah. If I could move into the Mutter Museum, I would.
It is basically decorated exactly how Lucy would want her house. Including with the soap lady in the,
The soap
corner.
lady as my roommate.
Yeah, just lots of like little cabinets and little drawers with like curios inside.
The soap lady would be an amazing roommate, though. She wouldn't pay rent, but she'd
Quiet.
be an amazing roommate. Yeah. Hard to fight with
She
the soap
never
lady.
cooks.
No. But that means
no
she never
dishes in the
makes.
sink.
Yeah, she never makes dirty dishes.
True. That's true.
It's a trade-off.
Everything has like a little placard. Tiny
Yeah.
little placard.
So
I need
good.
placards for my oddity cabinet.
You do.
Yeah, don't you have a label maker? You must. What?
Yeah,
I
but
don't
you
need
want
I
like,
don't need labels. I need like tiny
like
little folded
brass.
little triangular. Yeah. I'll work on it.
Okay.
I'll add it to my to-do list.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Okay, so the rogues galleries. And then shortly after this, attempts were made to standardize the photos that they weren't all over the fucking place.
Makes sense.
Like some were kind of artsy and some were like super not and whatever.
Which is great, but when you're dealing with forensic photography, we
Yeah.
do not want like room for artistic liberties. Stick to the facts.
Stick to the facts. Parisian police clerk Alphonse Bertillon first gained attention when he established lighting and categorical standards for mugshots in the year 1890. So side note about this guy, he suggested an anthropological approach to his mugshots, including a well-lit full face shot and then also the silhouette with the ear visible.
Oh,
So
because
he-
ears are really unique.
He invented the mugshot as we know it today.
Wow. And when was
And
that?
this was great. 1890.
Wow.
Yeah, 1890. So this was great, but it became problematic when he incorporated a measurement system. So measuring certain features, and that fed into the idea that criminals look different from everyday citizens, thereby reinforcing racist stereotypes.
Right.
Great.
If they had just used the measurements as like data for identifying an individual, being like, well, this individual's ear is, 2 inches.
But that's
and,
not what
whatever.
it was. It was like they have a broad nose. They are more likely to be a
Therefore-
criminal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, really bad.
Just a random example that's not so random, but you get where I'm going with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so not so great, but it was his methodical grid approach methodical grid approach used to photograph and diagram crime scenes in 1903 that gave him acclaim. So I'm assuming they mean when you map out a crime scene and you make a grid
Yeah.
so that you can tell where everything is in relation to everything else.
Which they also do at archaeological dig sites.
Oh, yeah.
They make
Yeah.
a grid and then they can say like this bone came from this exact square.
We love a good grid.
Love a good grid. In fact, he created techniques still used in crime photography today. His work brought the importance of scale and measurements to crime scene documentation, particularly locations of items of evidence relative to each other and to the environment. So a colleague of his named Rodolphe Rice expanded Bertillon's concept to establish the value of photographing detail in footprints, fingerprints, wounds, victim clothing, and blood spatter, which is one of the most important forensic techniques. So his colleague just took it a step further and was like, hey, let's also make sure that we develop techniques, which I will kind of get to later on, to capture these specific, more subtle aspects of a crime scene.
Okay.
We will get to photographs of fingerprints in my case.
Perfect. Well, I'll give a brief little rundown beforehand. So today, forensic photography is used to help prosecute a crime because the photography can capture things such as evidence that can't be physically collected. So, for example, blood spatter or a pool
like
of
a
blood.
stain.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't just you
You
can't
can get like
collect it.
fibers off of a rug, but if you want like the full scale of like how bad the bleeding was, or if there was like an oil slick.
Yeah. You have to have photographs of these things.
Hannah's imagination is
Or like
wild.
a stream of bodily fluids running
trail.
slightly downhill.
A wagon wheel coffee table.
Yeah.
Too big to bring into an evidence
A
blocker.
Surrey with a fringe on top.
on top.
Yes. In relation to the Surrey itself, the fringe.
The fringe.
Yeah.
You got it.
Picture says 1,000 words.
You got it.
Yeah.
And now I need to watch When Harry Met Sally again.
Oh, yeah.
For the 8 billionth time.
It's too good.
It's so good.
So another example to Amanda's credit, the shape of a blood stain will change often over time. So maybe the photographer gets there and the person is dead, but maybe their body is still bleeding. You know what I mean?
So how big was the pool initially could help you determine the time of death.
The rate at which the pool grows,
Yep. Yep.
things such as this.
Okay.
There are many things that a forensic photographer can photograph. A few examples include the body of the victim, shell casings, or broken glass. And I'm pretty sure we've mentioned this before, but Locard's principle. Does this ring a bell?
Maybe.
It's basically the idea that a perpetrator will always bring something to the crime scene and will always leave with something from the crime scene. So there is
talked about that before.
always a piece of evidence,
A hair, a skin flake,
something,
a semen.
a semen.
Yeah, a semen. Now that we have epithelial DNA, that is like very, very, very
You
fun.
fucked.
A herpes.
Yeah,
You fucked. A herpy.
just a single herp.
That
Herpes,
wart that
if
you've
you
been
will.
trying to get rid of for years, and then it finally decides that is the moment to fall off.
And
To
herpes.
fall off.
Yep.
That's where Kenyans.
Don't
I mean,
do
if it takes
crimes.
me committing a crime to get this plantar wart to fall out, I'll do it.
I know you will.
If that's what's left. I've
We're
had
there.
this bitch frozen off 3 times. It's still there.
Commit a crime.
So everyone
Leave it at the
DM
scene.
Kenyan your plantar wart remedies.
Please
Leave
do.
me out of
Don't.
this.
I've done them all. I know. Apple cider vinegar, duct tape. I fucking know. I've done them all.
That only sounds
Don't.
like 2. It seems like you need a lot more suggestions.
Do you want me to keep going? I'll list more.
Tell the people you're social. So they
Liquid
can DM
nitrogen, compound W,
Oh my god.
fucking colloidal silver. I haven't done that because that's bullshit.
Okay, a forensic photographer might also be asked to photograph injuries on a victim who is alive and was attacked. So, like, you know, you see it like someone after an attack. There's
Yup.
you need to photograph all the claw marks and the bruising on the
bruises.
inside of the thighs and all that
Right.
stuff. What with the prevalence of point-and-shoot digital cameras nowadays, many smaller police agencies may not have a dedicated forensic photographer available, so it is important for first responders to fill that role when necessary. But larger agencies may have specially trained and certified crime scene photographers with high-end cameras and lighting to document crime scenes and evidence. Crime scene photos are important to 2 distinct groups of people. They can refresh the memories for those who were present at the scene, and they can show the scene and evidence to those who were not present. So in the latter group, some important players include the judge, jury, attorneys, and witnesses.
Executioner.
Yes. So these photographs are important throughout the entire process.
Investigation and prosecution.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
All forensic photography must consider 3 elements at a crime scene: the subject, the scale, and a reference object. Also, so like a dollar bill, you know?
Right. Something that you can tell how big the thing is.
Or like the quarter that a guy put on the tip of his dick when he sent me that dick pic all those years ago. Just a shiny
Is that a reliable
quarter.
reference point, though? Because what if he had a small quarter made so that his dick looks bigger?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past some men.
And
I
also-
bet that's out there.
I didn't sleep with him, so I hope he went through the trouble of having a tiny quarter made just to have that completely not work.
Then let's
It's like-
nail him on counterfeiting charges.
It's at like 97% scale. It's like barely noticeable. He goes to federal prison.
I gotta find this photo.
Off, but I just can't put my finger on it.
And I never will.
I sure didn't.
Yeah,
I was
dick
like,
pics
that's
don't work.
nice.
No.
Unless
aren't-
unless you already have a
Correct.
thing.
They don't work as a getting you to sleep with me.
Right.
Getting to know ya.
And they
Yeah,
work in
yeah.
a sexting context in a situation where
In
we've
a
already had
relationship.
sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a thing where there's already an existing at least flirtation.
Yeah, more like as a reminder to be like, hey, remember my cute little dick?
Yeah.
Want to
And
get
I'm
on
like,
it later?
Right.
No.
Sure. By all means, then. Or whatever. But if you're just like trying to attract a brand new person,
Sir.
woman, probably not going to work.
Probably not.
Well, who are we to paint with a wide brush? But
Yeah,
for me
I'm
personally, and I think
Right.
for the 2 of you, not a great success rate. Not a good ROI.
Not to jinx myself, but I have never received a real full-fledged dick pic.
I have.
Not, like from a partner or anyone?
Nope.
Or do you just mean unsolicited?
Not from
'Cause,
anyone,
girl,
not from a
I've been up to
stranger.
my ears in both.
Neither.
Wow,
I've
that's
gotten
really sad.
2 unsolicited ones.
It's not sad. I'm great. I
She's
love
doing
it.
fine.
I'm sad for you. That's a really important experience.
Should we do forensic dick pics sometime?
Well, you've already done foreskin and dick crimes.
Yeah,
It's
I don't think we need to go
honestly-
down that road ever again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
you're
kind
right.
of plumbing the depths at this point. Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. Also, the overall forensic photographs, much like I said, must be shown in a completely neutral and accurate representation. Photography can sometimes be the only way, like I said, to collect a piece of evidence: the blood spatter, the body fluids on the grade, whatever. Therefore,
The oil slick.
the slick. Therefore, forensic photographers fulfill 2 different roles, or the photography fulfills 2 different roles: documenting the crime scene and evidence within, and the evidence within the scene on site, and also capturing the collection of evidence. So, like once items are taken back to the lab and examined, because you also have those really high resolution, well lit, like the bloody pencil that she stabbed him with.
Oh, yeah.
Against like
So
a
they'll
white piece of
they'll
paper.
photograph it, yeah, like in a controlled environment after it's been photographed in its original environment and then
Yep.
collected.
Yep.
That probably also serves to maintain inventory as well and like make sure that the pencil that was collected from the scene isn't
It's the
different
same one.
from the pencil that was photographed in the lab.
Yeah. And also, if you have photographs of all of this stuff, you don't have to be like, oh, I have a question about that bloody pencil. Let me go root through 100 boxes to find
Right.
that one fucking pencil. You can just find the very detailed, high resolution, well lit photos of that pencil.
And she's gone.
And this is from a website called forensicsciencesimplified.com. Crime scene photography should not just focus on the obvious. The purpose of crime scene photography is to document what is there and where it is in relationship to the scene, whether it is obviously connected to the crime or not. So, for example, a photographer in Florida shot the inside of every single cabinet and the inside of the refrigerator at a homicide scene in a home, just as a matter of procedure. It was later discovered that the victim had a receipt for a 6-pack of beer, matching the beer shown in the photograph of the inside of the refrigerator. Relatives noted that the victim did not drink beer. Further investigation led the team to the convenience store where the beer was purchased, and the surveillance tape showed the victim with an unknown person purchasing the beer. It turned out that the victim had picked up a hitchhiker, purchased beer for that person, and came back to her house, to their house. The photograph of the refrigerator contents had created the link enabling the investigators to find the subject.
Wow.
So they have to take a picture of everything.
I need to be better about keeping my fridge cleaned out because if I were homicided today,
Yeah, they'd be like, we don't even know where to start.
they'd be like, girl, you're nasty.
It might have been food poisoning. I know there's blood spatter everywhere.
I know
but,
she has a
like,
bullet in her face, but it's probably still food
It's
poisoning.
also botulism.
Why do you have so many different peanut butters in here?
I have like 14 mustards. It's fine. From like one of my cozy mystery shows that I watch.
You love a
can't remember
cozy
what.
mystery.
There was like a living room where like a glass coffee table was broken and like it looked like signs of forced entry and a struggle and all this stuff.
But
rough sex. Okay. But the framed family photos on the fireplace mantelpiece were all still like totally normal looking.
Oh, they didn't get
They didn't get jostled or knocked
Disturbed.
over.
Mhm.
And then it like something like caught the investigator off. Like they were like, something is off about this, whatever. And then they went into the home after like the glass had been cleaned up and the coffee table had been cleaned up or whatever. And they just like stomped their foot and the photos like fell on the mantelpiece.
So
And they're
there's
like,
no way they would have stayed perfectly up during a kerfuffle. No way.
so it was staged.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Staged. Okay. So there are rules that forensic photographers should follow when they're on the scene. This is from a 2018 article from the National Institute of Health called Forensic Photography, Prospect Through the Lens. And this article has multiple authors. It is cited on our website if you're curious. It's a real thing. I didn't want to read all their names. Okay, number
I
one.
think that framed photo example was from the movie Gone Girl, starring Jennifer Lopez's new boyfriend,
Yep. New returning boyfriend, Ben Affleck.
new ex-boyfriend. Anyway, sorry.
I
go
thought
on.
that sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Also
I bet
a
it
cozy
happened in
mystery.
real life.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, number one, securing the scene. After the crime has been established, the scene should be secured as it is. Any reallocation in the scene photographed will act as wrong evidence. Then we have evaluating conditions. Conditions such as light and weather should be evaluated, and camera settings should be adjusted accordingly. So, for example, if it's really, really dark, then you're going to want to adjust your shutter speed and your aperture. Plus, you'll want your own camera flashes and also some external sources of lighting, such as a flashlight.
Cool.
Also depends on how good your camera is.
Keep that detail when you are trying to take photos of yourself or your friends at nighttime. It's way better if you can get a wing person,
To shine
use their
their
phone light
flashlight.
and use the flash from your phone so that you get the good light.
It's the good light, honey.
Get the good light.
Another thing that I don't think I mentioned in here, but it reminded me of the scene at the beginning of The Bone Collector with Angelina Jolie, and she comes and those kids find like the hand sticking up from the gravel by the train tracks.
Yes.
And she takes a picture. She's got like $1. She has
Dollar
the
bill out
wherewithal.
of her wallet.
She gets the $. She takes the picture of the hand with like maybe the missing finger, I think. And then the train's coming, and she like
Yes,
stops
she's trying
the
so
train.
hard to get
but
it
she gets the
undisturbed.
photo. I think she gets the photo before the train.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. Like these first responders have to be really, really well aware of the importance of taking photos, especially with that dollar bill reference point, before anything is disturbed.
Yeah. Oh, Bone Collector.
So
great
good.
film. Great book.
Yeah.
So good. Angelina.
Denzel.
Yeah.
it keeps you on the seat of your chair
Queen
till the very
Latifah.
end.
I
Queen
read.
Latifah.
That cast
Yeah.
is so good.
It's so
I haven't
good.
watched that in forever.
I definitely read that book in like 6th grade.
You
I don't
did.
know where I
Yeah.
got my hands on it.
The library. It's
Yeah.
where I got my hands on Lolita.
Yeah.
The Excelsior Library. Why they didn't check my ID, I'll never know.
Hey, anybody can read anything.
Also, Misery. We were talking about Misery the other day.
Oh, so good.
And how I used to pretend to hobble my sister when she was bad, and I would never tell her what it meant. I was like, just limp for the rest
Okay.
of the day.
You've been hobbled.
Oh, God. Don't tell Mom.
She'd go, don't hobble me, please.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
She's like 5.
Really, we should pay for Madeline's
Her therapy? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Amanda
fine.
doesn't have to contribute, but you and I.
I don't know. Amanda fully participated at your wedding. We had a cauldron.
Well,
Yeah.
for the photo, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
It wasn't malicious. It was Instagram.
She was into it.
She loved it.
It wasn't malicious. It was Instagram.
Maybe she's born with it.
Oh my God. Okay, so
Maybe
then
it's sacrifice.
we have shooting the scene. The photographer should capture the entire scene using wide angle shots, followed by close-up shots to visualize the full scene to show the relationship of the evidence with the overall scene. Then we photograph the victim or victims. The location, injuries, and condition of the victims should be highlighted, obviously. And clearly, if someone's still alive when first responders come on the scene, they're not going to wait for the photographer.
Right.
And it would be ethically wrong for the photographer to try to get, their shots
while they're like
trying to
working on a
administer.
victim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But
That'd
if
be
it's not
fucked up.
life-threatening, then as soon as you can do those photos, the better.
If they're clearly already dead, then don't touch them.
anything. Yeah.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah, but a lot of like crime scene photos will have like, you know, streaks and splatters from those first responders like trying to rescue the victims and
Right.
and that can make it harder, but also even more of a reason to not tamper with the scene any more than is absolutely necessary when you're administering the first responder, you know, life-saving measures.
Don't tidy up.
Yeah.
Don't tidy up. No. Then we have photographing the evidence. Photographs should be taken directly at right angles, so like straight above something, eliminating probable distance distortions for clear visualization, and each part of evidence should be photographed with both scale to signify the size and without scale to show its relationship with the overall scene. So any one piece of evidence should be photographed at multiple different angles. To just kind of show, because then you can establish how big it is, how far away it is from everything else, and also to get down in there to see like the deets.
That makes sense.
Then they place evidence markers. So I think those are the little like triangular like little markers that are like numbered.
They look like
Little
tiny
cones.
wet floor signs.
Little tiny wet floor signs, yeah. So I didn't find any information on like what they look like necessarily. They probably look different for every department and agency that's using them, but the ones that I'm thinking of have like numbers on them. So that might be like for shell
Reference
casings.
numbers.
Yeah, maybe they're just reference numbers. Maybe they show the order of something, but I feel like that would probably be determined later on.
Well, it would be easier to reference back in the report to be like,
Right.
see
Exhibit
item
1.
13. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so the evidence markers. The first shot of the entire crime scene is very essential to confirm that no one has altered the scene. The photographer should capture the scene with and without the evidence markers. Then they have the use of special imaging techniques, so alternate light sources, like Amanda was saying, such as lasers, blue or green lights, and colored filters should be used to detect fingerprints, bite marks, and footprints. So, for example, photographing fingerprints in soft substances such as dust, wax, clay, or grease should be done at an oblique angle with an adequate cross light, followed by a glancing illumination with the flashlight. I don't really know what this means, but I'm gleaning that it's just lots of different angles of light so that someone smarter than me could tell the
There's
depth
a lot of
an
like,
impression and the
physics
size of it
and math that goes along with
and
this.
geometry.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. Tire impressions are photographed by placing a tape measure on the same plane as the impression to show the exact circumference of the tire. And for bite marks, one should take close-up photographs using scale on the same plane as the impression, and it should be taken at different angles to show the finest detail of the impression.
Gotcha.
We've talked about bite marks before. They're not super reliable, but depending on
They're
the
not like a
context-
smoking gun, but they could absolutely be corroborating
Right.
evidence.
Yes.
Right.
So they're still important in that way.
Like
Right.
if part of someone's MO was to bite their victim after they
Right.
were dead, for example.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all the sciencey information. And just to close this out, there's a guy that I've heard about, but I completely forgot about until just now. And I think he's really interesting. So there are photos on the drive, but basically I'm just going to weave you the tale of Ouija.
Waluigi.
Like the game.
It's spelled Weegee, but it's purported to be taken from the game Ouija, Owija, because this
Okay.
guy seemed to be a little bit psychic. And we'll get to it.
Okay.
I'm a bit psychic.
Just a bit. So Arthur, a.k.a. Usher Fellig, born June 12th, 1899, was known by his pseudonym Ouija. He was a photographer and photojournalist known for his stark black and white street photography in New York City. As a child, he emigrated from Ukraine and settled in Brooklyn. He took numerous odd jobs, including working as a street photographer of children on his pony. So he had a pony. He just walk around with, and then kids would give him like a nickel to take a picture of them on the pony or whatever.
Was he a creep? Do we like him or not like him?
What? I like him. He's weird.
Okay.
I don't think he was like a pedo or anything.
Okay.
He also worked as an assistant to a commercial photographer. In 1924, he was hired as a darkroom technician by Acme Newspapers, later United Press International Photos. So like a photo agency.
Okay.
He left Acme in 1935 to become a freelance photographer. Describing his beginnings, Ouija stated, quote, "In my particular case, I didn't wait till somebody gave me a job or something. I went and created a job for myself. Freelance photographer. And what I did, anybody else can do. What I did simply was this. I went down to Manhattan Police Headquarters, and for 2 years, I worked without a police card or any kind of credentials.
Okay.
When a story came over the police teletype, which is like the little
the
ticker
early
tape
scanner. Yeah.
Yeah, early blotter, yeah.
I would go to it. The idea was that I sold the pictures to the newspapers, and naturally, I picked a story that meant something.
I'm just
So he would-
picturing Jake Gyllenhaal from
Nightcrawler, yes.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler. Yeah.
Very similar.
But with a pony. Which honestly,
I don't
Better
think he had
version.
his pony at this point. I think he was mostly on foot, but there's really no way to know. Also, like New York City at this time, there was a lot of like gang activity. I think there was a much smaller police presence. So it was probably easier for him to get on the scene before law enforcement did.
Yeah.
But basically, he worked at night, Nightcrawler, and competed with the police to be the first at the scene of a crime, selling his photographs to tabloids and photographic agencies. His photographs, centered around Manhattan Police Headquarters, were soon published by the Daily News and other tabloids, as well as more upscale publications such as Life magazine. I have several of his photographs on the drive. They're all labeled Ouija 1 through 8.
Oh, wow.
Most of his notable photographs were taken with very basic press photographer equipment and methods of the era, a 4x5 speed graphic camera preset at f/16 and 1/200th of a second with flash bulbs and a set focus distance of 10 feet. And basically what that means, it was essentially the capabilities of a disposable camera. It had a very, very set light and depth ratio. It was
I am
a point and
having
shoot.
like major deja vu. Did you and I ever go see an exhibit of his
Maybe
in a
because
museum?
a lot of his work has been on rotating exhibits around the world.
I think I saw it with you or I saw it at a tiny museum in Paris with a family friend of mine. She like invited me. Looking at this now, it's like, oh, I've definitely seen this in an exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
It's
Okay,
very
cool.
likely. So this is Ouija. So he was a self-taught photographer with no formal training. He is often said incorrectly to have developed his photographs in a makeshift darkroom in the trunk of his car. Didn't happen. I don't know where he got his photos developed, but I think that was just part of like the folklore surrounding how fucking fast he was to deliver these photos.
Oh, these
While,
photos are so heartbreaking.
I know. While Ouija would shoot a variety of subjects and individuals, he also had a sense of what sold best, saying, "Names make news. If there's a fight between a drunken couple on 3rd Avenue or 9th Avenue in Hell's Kitchen, nobody cares. It's just a barroom brawl. But if society has a fight in a Cadillac on Park Avenue and their names are in the social register, this makes news and the papers are interested in something like that."
He's just an early tabloid creep who parlayed his like decent abilities into a forensic photography.
He wasn't
career.
early. He was the first.
Yeah.
He was the first, and I think his photos are really, I think they're really poignant and
Oh, they're
really
phenomenal.
incredible to look at as a whole.
You can
he
be a
was-
creep and be very good at what you do. I
I don't
would
know.
know.
I feel like on a scale of exploitation around this time, to me, he didn't rank that high. But-
Sure. I mean, considering he was really the only one at that time, but
Ouija is spuriously credited for answering. So when someone asked about his technique, he would just say F8 and be there, meaning have your camera set at F8, like the f-stop.
Shutter, speed or whatever.
And
What does that mean?
and just to show up. It's just a function on your camera that's basically fairly safe. If you're photographing something at night and you have a flash bulb, just have it set at F8 is a fairly safe bet, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's like the shutter speed, right?
It's not the shutter speed.
Okay.
It's the focal depth, but
Oh, okay.
it's complicated, but that's essentially what that means. So whether or not he said it, the saying has become so widespread in photographic circles that it has become a cliche. Some of Ouija's photos, like the juxtaposition of society grande dame in ermines and tiaras and a glowering street woman at the Metropolitan Opera, were later revealed to have been staged. So, like as he himself said, he wasn't a trained professional. He was really just after the money that came from pictures like this, but he was at the right place before the cops were there. He got some very poignant, very important photos. And that's Ouija. He was kind of like, kind of among the first freelance crime scene forensic photographers.
Totally.
Right. So he did like some crime scenes, some like just tabloid paparazzi stuff, and some pose.
It was kind of just whatever was popping off that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
So anyway,
Cool.
that is my segment. Way more information than you probably signed up for, but
Interesting. All right. Are we ready for my case?
never.
Very.
How much Ouija is featured?
How fucking crazy is that? I just confirmed it. I saw a Ouija exposition in Paris in 2008 with a family friend.
That's funny.
And I totally did not remember it at all until I went and looked at those photos on the drive and was like,
Told ya.
whoa.
He's famous.
Yeah. It was
Creep
a
or
cool,
not, he's famous.
cool expo.
Believe it or not, Ouija's working on it.
Because he's dead. He died in 1969.
There you go.
Nice. So, okay, my case. Very dark topics, but
Wow, you don't say.
Oh, she
But-
said but.
very interesting and some justice.
Okay.
Okay.
That's rare. I'll take it.
So, in September of 2012, Danish police, during the course of an arrest, seized a personal computer in a, quote, child pornography investigation. And from now on, we will be saying child sexual abuse material or CSAM.
CSAM.
Because
CSAM desist these activities.
Yeah.
Child
CSAM.
pornography kind of insinuates that the child was in on it. And that's
Exactly.
not.
Yeah.
And I know that we have said it in the past because that was coming from a place of ignorance,
yeah.
not knowing that we shouldn't use that term. But
Yeah, because
we
pornography, kind of like indicates consent.
Right. So it's child sexual abuse material or like images of child sexual abuse. So they're doing this arrest and they seize a dude's personal computer in Denmark. The computer contained, among other material, images of an unknown suspect abusing 2 children, both girls, under the age of 12. The suspect was not the Danish guy who possessed the images on his computer, because you know that these images are like shared through networks of like pedophiles around
Right.
the world, and that is what adds to the crime being so heinous. So the Danish scumbag who is caught possessing these images was already a known sex offender, and he is prosecuted for possession of these images in Denmark. But that still left the original suspect's identity a mystery. So the person in the images
Right. We don't know
abusing
who
the
that.
children in the photo.
And any other hands this shit probably passed through before it got to the guy in Denmark.
Well, we don't. That's like a whole nother can of worms that we're not covering in this case, because there could be literally millions
Millions.
of
I know. It's just
Yeah.
Gross
Sorry, I
to
have
think
to
about.
like sneeze, but it's not coming, so I'm just gonna keep touching my nose a lot.
Great.
Okay. I'm so sexy.
There's some really cute faces you're making.
Okay.
You're making my nose itch now.
Oh, it's like really bad. Okay. Allergies, man. Woo. So all they could really tell from just a first glance of the images was that the original suspect is an adult white male and that the photos were likely taken in the US, which they can usually tell from like
Context
objects.
clues.
Yeah, like usually the outlets in the
Right.
room
Big
will
giveaway.
give a big clue.
This has don't fuck with cats vibes.
Totally.
Already.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is it's yes. Oh my god, you guys, I'm dying. Okay.
Look at the light.
I just need to like get it out, but it won't come.
Go
Blow
into the
it.
light. Go stare at the light bulb behind you.
Okay.
Open your eyes. Look at the light. Let it come.
Okay.
John, cut all of this.
Oh yeah, cut
Definitely
this.
keep this.
I'm so sorry. It's not coming. I'm gonna get through it. Okay.
Remember my little wet paper trick that I told you guys?
Yeah.
It totally worked for the hiccups.
Oh, sticking it to your forehead. Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Wow.
I got it, and then it broke my neck.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Oh my God. Okay. So I could tell that the photo was probably taken in the US. The abuser's face could not be seen in the image, or like parts of it could be seen, but it was like so obscured that they couldn't get a good visual on the face. But other clues were visible. So the Danish authorities, like I said, believing that the images had originated in the US, turned them over to ICE's Cyber Crimes Division, which was working on a sweeping project called Operation Sunflower to track down and arrest traffickers in child sexual abuse material shared online. They, in turn, were able to determine that the images had originated in the state of Georgia. I don't know how they figured that out, but they did.
And what year was
Probably
this?
2012?
There
And
might
these were-
have been like
these
the,
were digital images?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
so there's like the metadata and all
Yeah,
that.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably how they did it.
So the photo had clearly been taken in a residential bathroom. And miraculously, in the background of the photo, albeit quite blurry, there were several items in view on the bathroom counter and also in the open, like slightly ajar medicine cabinet, including a prescription pill bottle.
With
Oh,
the name on
shit.
it. Love that.
So standard zooming in on the pill bottle in the photo just revealed a blur.
Enhance.
That's literally in my notes.
Yeah.
Enhance.
Zoom, enhance, zoom, enhance.
It's not
Yeah.
real, people.
It's
That's
not
not how
real.
it works.
But in this case, it
Enhance worked.
Sometimes you can sharpen to a degree.
Yeah, no, you can. You can sharpen to a degree.
Yeah, it's
For
not
sure.
CSI, but they fucking made it work in this case, and it's amazing, and I'm so excited. So-
Can I just tell one little side note?
Yeah?
I think this is true. Do you know on like Instagram and TikTok, at least like a couple months ago, they had a trend where like it was usually like a girl in like some baggy clothes, and then like a certain song played, and then
Yeah.
like the red light behind and the black silhouette, and like
Yeah.
her like sexy figure or whatever.
Right. Yep.
Somebody made like an app that had the technology to take off the black silhouette and the red blurry, so it was
just
just a
see the-
video of a naked like person.
Great.
Is that gross?
Super gross. And
Just
I'm
apply
also
it to
not
any one of those
surprised.
videos.
Oh
I'm not
my
surprised
God.
either, but just like
Why are men, and I am assuming correctly that a man invented that technology.
I wholeheartedly believe that. I know no facts about it, but if you
Don't
submitted
need
one
to
of
know.
those videos,
I know,
take it down.
I know all the facts I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, so using like cutting edge Zoom
Enhancements.
technology,
Mm-hmm.
a man named Jim Cole, who was the supervisor of victim identification at the Homeland Security Investigations Cybercrime Center, was able to reverse some of the motion blur and enhance the photo enough to read part of the name on the prescription pill bottle.
That's all you need to narrow it down, honey.
And there are photos on the drive of the pill bottle if you want to go look. Do you want to look and see if you can read the name?
Okay, let's see. Steven?
Yep.
Steven Schmer.
Stephen K.E.
Yes.
Dang. Wow.
Any other information from the photo?
I would guess that it's K.E.A., just context clue, but
Yep.
Hold on. Now
Yep.
I need to zoom in.
take one.
Yep. Twice something.
And then their address is on here, right? No. I'm looking on the left-hand side of the barcode now.
The pill itself is like
Paraglazazone
or plexifazazone or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's some good info on there. Enhance. Okay. So yes, Lucy was correct. It is okay. The digitally enhanced photo showed the bottle's label to list the first name Stephen with a PH and the last name beginning with the letters K-E.
Yes.
And I would argue K-E-A. The first 3 digits of the prescription order were also readable.
So you could really
With this
verify
information,
this
Cole's
person.
team reached out. Oh, yeah. So, with this information, Cole's team reached out to pharmacies to find patients who would fit this criteria, pharmacies in Georgia where the image originated. And they were able to narrow their search to a piece of human garbage named Stephen P.H. Keating.
Oh,
we
you
go.
gotta be kidding me.
But the mere presence of the pill bottle bearing his name couldn't conclusively prove that it was Stephen Keating abusing the children in the image. It would be possible for a defense attorney to argue that another individual could have obtained the bottle, either like stolen it or gotten it when he'd thrown it out, or merely used his residence to conduct their crimes against children without his knowledge. Like, you know,
Poking holes.
right. So investigators needed more proof. Don't worry, though. The use of advanced photo technology did not stop there.
Okay.
Investigators were also able to zoom in on the part of the digital photograph showing Keating's fingers. There's a photo on the drive. And by then processing this image through multiple filters, pull his motherfucking fingerprints
Wow.
from the photo.
I didn't
So
even
they-
know that was possible.
From like a still image of the
Of his-
video.
Oh, of the video.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Cole would later describe, quote, how he and his team sharpened the image focus on a finger in the first still shot from the video, generated a spatial map capturing the unique ridges and contours of the surface of the finger,
Dang.
and managed to extract enough fingerprint detail to run the data through their biometric database of convicted offenders.
Damn.
That is wild.
Like,
I'm just looking at my own fingers.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Fully bunks.
If there was just like a photo of your fingers, they could potentially get your fingerprints.
Yeah.
But this isn't even a photo. It's a frame from a video,
Correct.
which is not at all a photo.
Well, and
Right.
that's even
in terms
wilder
of
that
definition.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's like even more miraculous that they were able to get such a clear still from a moving image.
Science is so cool.
And the
Amazing.
fingerprints pulled from this photo were highly accurate and a conclusive match to Keating.
Jesus.
Thank God.
So 53-year-old Stephen A. Couldn't find his middle name. I'm guessing it's
We
Alan.
know what it
Yes.
was.
Yeah. Keating, a resident of Jessup, Georgia, which is
We have thoughts on that we don't need to get into.
Sure don't.
which is a small town located between Savannah and Jacksonville, and nearby the thriving metropolis of Doctortown,
Where the
Georgia.
first doctor was born. Welcome to Doctortown, where we do not vaccinate.
Everyone's a doctor.
There's a 1% vaccination
Nation
rate.
rate in
Oh,
Doctortown.
no.
So Stephen Keating was arrested on November 15th, 2012 for the child sexual abuse crimes depicted in the photos. Further investigation into Keating after his arrest revealed that he had been sexually abusing 3 different children under the age of 12 and photographing and filming the abuse to distribute online.
Well, I need a rosewater spray
Yeah. Yeah.
to get through that.
Spray it away, baby. Spray it away. It was also discovered that he had sexually abused at least 12 other minors whose abuse, as far as we know, was not filmed.
Fuck.
It was probably more.
So he,
Oh,
There are
yes.
always more.
yeah, serial fucking abuser and offender. Just a real piece of human garbage.
And once you get the balls to film, like,
And distribute.
Ah.
And they trade.
No.
It's own.
It's like fucking Pokemon.
I also feel like once you find an abuser of minors and there's a certain amount of minors who come forward or like adults know about, there's always going to be more.
Yeah,
Oh,
multiply.
yeah.
Anyway, so Keating pled guilty to multiple counts of child exploitation and 1 count of distribution of, quote, child pornography, which is still the legal term in the law, but hopefully, we can update that term in the future. But based largely on the evidence obtained from the photograph, he was sentenced to 110 years in federal prison.
Thank God. I thought you were going to say days
Not
and
enough,
I was
but
going to
he
fucking
will-
lose my mind. He'll die in prison.
No, he will die in prison.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Each count of sexual exploitation of a minor carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years in prison. So, they just stacked up those charges. He's not getting out.
Yeah, nothing's concurrent, thank God.
Yeah, and he pled guilty, so there won't be an appeal and stuff. So he is locked away, thank God. Commenting on Keating's long prison sentence, U.S. Attorney Ed Tarver said, quote, "Depraved acts will bring together every facet of law enforcement to garner the severest punishment allowed by law. This defendant's lengthy sentence represents the lifetime of pain and anguish he has brought upon his victims." The investigation into the photo of Keating was part of a larger project referred to as Photo DNA, which focuses on using technology to comb through images of child sexual abuse in order to identify victims and perpetrators. According to Jim Cole, his team often receives about 500,000 such images a week.
Separate
A week?
images.
There's a lot of overlap, but if it comes up in different investigations, then the same photo will be sent to them.
Counted twice or
Right.
whatever. Oh, God.
Wow.
A week?
I mean, 1 is too many, but Jesus
Yeah.
fucking Christ. That is
Yeah.
so
It's a
half
whole-
a
it's a
million a week.
It's a scale that I don't think any of us could have fathomed.
Had no idea.
Yeah. Over 25 million a year. And that's just how many this team investigates.
Okay.
Yep. So one of the largest benefits of this project, this photo DNA project with all this new technology, like I'm telling you about, these digital programs, is that a computer can now sort through these photos and categorize ones that have already been seen.
Sure.
So they can, instead of the person hours it takes to
Right.
comb through all of these and be like, that one we've seen before, that one we haven't,
Yeah,
this one we've
compare or
investigated, that one we
whatever.
haven't. A computer can like do that.
Yeah, so it's a lot more efficient and the
saves-
categorization.
And less fucked up for actual humans.
Right, who then have to look at that over. Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
I'm usually not for like computers taking jobs, but in this specific
Yes.
circumstances, like
Take
no.
the job.
Take the job. You can have it. You
Right.
with no emotion.
well, humans have to come in at a certain point.
Of course.
I'm
But
sure, but just
the
like wading
computers-
through the sheer number. Can you
Yeah.
imagine just going home to like your husband
Your
and
family
kids
and
after
children.
that day?
Yeah,
Well,
no.
actually, so we will get to it. So it causes a lot of psychological distress to investigators, and like the turnover in
that
people
unit.
that work there
Yeah.
is crazy high
Jesus
because
Christ.
It must be.
people can't fucking take it anymore. It really like impacts their life. They get PTSD. Like it's horrible. So like I said in my next sentence, this allows investigators to like focus on new victims and not slow them down looking at images that have
Oh.
already been like processed or investigated.
Have to slog through something
Right.
that is both time consuming and extremely traumatizing.
Right. And an added benefit is that it can somewhat ease the psychological burden on the law enforcement and officials who are tasked with going through these images, or at least like save some time. Cole noted in an interview that, quote, "We definitely see a mental health benefit because the nature of our offenders is that they are trading material we've seen hundreds of thousands of times in addition to all the new material."
Oh my God.
So, whereas the Stephen Keating case, so, okay, this is a little complicated. They found the original photos. The way it came to light for law enforcement was in that case in Denmark,
Sure.
which happened in September 2012. Once that information was sent from Denmark to the US, they very quickly were able to figure out, like within 24 hours, once the US got it, they were able to figure out that it was fucking this dude.
Okay.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
really fast.
They
That's
were
am-
able to enhance.
Enhance.
They were able,
Fingerprints.
they were able to like use the metadata, like find out it was from Georgia, find out his name,
That
find the
is
pharmacy, whatever,
incredible.
within 24 hours.
Wow, they were on it.
And then it took about 3 weeks to identify 14 other victims of his,
Wow.
of Keating's from then.
Like from other photographs? Like
Um,
comparing them?
That
Or just
I'm not
once they
sure.
got him?
Once they got him, I think maybe they were able to like find other shit on his
Computer
I'm not
or
sure.
yeah.
Oh.
But in the past, this would have taken months or years, or they would have never been able to find
Or- yeah,
him.
never.
Or potentially that photo that led to his identification could have been lost amongst the tens of thousands of others, and a human eye might never have noticed the pill bottle. And it would have just remained like another hidden clue
Wow.
or like passed over.
Right.
So United States Attorney Edward J. Tarver said, quote, "No child should be subjected to sexual abuse, and certainly no child should have to live with the knowledge that the abuse was captured on film for redistribution or other like-minded predators. This defendant exploited the most vulnerable members of our society, our children. Swift, aggressive prosecution of child predators is the highest priority for the Department of Justice and the United States Attorney's Office." And then another special agent named Brock D. Nicholson, who works in the Atlanta office of the Homeland Security Investigations, said, quote, "This hideous abuse Stephen Keating inflicted on more than a dozen children can never be erased, but hopefully his victims can find some comfort in the fact that he will never again be a free man."
I mean, I just don't feel like somebody with that many victims and that many
Could ever be rehabilitated.
right, like that just
No, it's a compulsion at that point. I hope he does. I hope he gets treatment.
Even though
And
he will not.
And I'm still not for the death penalty, but no, I don't think that it would ever be safe or just to ever release him. Because
Agreed.
we might get to the point technologically. It's possible to get to the point technologically where we could like somehow cleanse the internet from that image. Like it seems really, really impossible right now, but it could happen eventually where we could like identify those images and like always find them wherever they exist and wipe them off the face of the earth. But it's going to be kind of an uphill climb.
Oof.
But yeah. Isn't that crazy though?
That is wild.
That is
the fingerprints.
Aside from the
shocking.
child sexual abuse
Of
material
course.
element, the fact that they were able, it's a really incredible story. I can't get over the fact that they could take a still frame from a fucking video,
Yeah.
somebody's home video, and get a fingerprint,
That's
a reliable fingerprint.
mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it was like a little bit outside of like, it wasn't crime scene photographs, but it was forensic
It was
photography.
photography, yes.
Yeah. It counted.
It totally
counts.
counted. And we will never do a CSAM episode.
No.
No.
Because there's nothing, there's nothing
Nope.
funny or entertaining about it.
Nope.
Nice
But-
job. This was a very interesting case.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Good-
hope
good
predators
find.
and perpetrators out there are shitting their pants because,
Because we got your print.
because there is photo technology out there that you don't even fucking know exists.
Suck it.
Love it.
Are we ready for my case?
Yes.
This is the story of a cold case, forensic photography, and a really bad screen name.
Oh, I love a bad screen name.
Tal Hot Blonde.
Better.
Tal.
So here we go. Stare. I don't know, stare.
Probably Steyer.
27-year-old Denise Sharon Kolb was living in the Kensington neighborhood of Philadelphia in the late 80s, early 90s. The mother of four had a rough go of things. She was struggling with an addiction to heroin. She was engaging in sex work as a means of survival, and her children did not live with her any longer. She'd always been a bit of a wild child, but the partying got out of hand really early. She didn't complete high school, though her family knew her to be incredibly bright, full of potential, like really friendly. Quote, she always wanted everybody to love her. She just looked for love in the wrong way, said her older sister, Deborah.
Yeah.
After leaving Kensington High School, Denise wanted to start a family. She had the first of her four children before turning 20, but things didn't work out with the father of her first child. She would go on to have three more children, but ended up arranging care for all four outside of her home because she was overwhelmed with her addiction and didn't feel that she could provide for her family. So Denise's mother took in the oldest of her children. The second child went to live with his grandparents on his father's side, and the youngest two children were placed in foster care. A noisy, judgmental, and straight up rude neighbor who was interviewed while sweeping her front stoop. Like, seriously, you could just picture it.
That is so Philly. Okay.
Yep. Described her as a, quote, troublesome girl. She said, after asking to remain anonymous, probably so she could just be a huge bitch without getting her name in the paper, quote, she was always in trouble with drugs and alcohol and men. She was just a streets girl, a troublesome girl to her mother and sisters, end
Street
quote.
rat.
I just don't have any knowledge of how addiction works. And
or
I'm just
empathy.
gonna blame the victim.
A streets girl.
Streets girl.
But this was not how her family saw her. Her sister Deborah, who tended bar at a local spot called Denise, recalled Denise coming in to visit her at work. Quote, she'd come in singing and dancing. Everybody liked her. Her brother Richard reflected, quote, she was outgoing, she was energetic, she was wild, she was my sister.
She wasn't a bad person. She
No, she was sick.
had an addiction. Yeah.
Yep.
she also wasn't a streets girl.
No.
Jesus.
So when Denise's body
Unless
was found,
she liked the streets, which is
Which,
an
sure.
incredible.
step up to the
the
streets.
streets.
Great
So
film.
when Denise's body was found on November 15th, 1991 in a secluded field in Birmingham Township, which is nearly 30 miles outside of Philly, it took some investigative work to identify her. The county coroner noted that she had, quote, died of undetermined, unnatural causes and suspected asphyxiation, but could not conclusively confirm that. She was also only wearing a sweater, but her clothes, like the other clothes that she had been wearing, pants, underwear, t-shirt, jacket, and a single yellow, like knee-high sock, were just piled on top of her body.
Was this on a Forensic Files episode?
It may have been, but
That
that's not how
yellow
I
sock,
found
The
it.
yellow sock.
Ringing a bell.
I mean, maybe. It's a
Also-
really interesting case.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Denise had also not been reported missing, even though she'd been gone for like a month. And the remains found were significantly decomposed, having been in this wooded area for at least 30 days before discovery.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry, about the yellow sock. Does that mean the other yellow sock was missing?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Investigators mapped out and photographed the entire scene, entering the pictures into evidence. When Denise was finally identified and her family was contacted with the news, they were shocked. They truly believed her life was turning a corner. She had recently moved in with her boyfriend. I actually don't think that this was a Forensic Files episode, and the reason why I don't think it was, we'll get to.
Okay.
So she had recently moved in with her boyfriend, Theodore Dill Donahue,
Dill.
who worked as a dill pickle delivery man. Just
No.
kidding. A pizza delivery man, but I
It
wish.
was like, no, I don't have a dill pickle delivery service.
I do want a dill pickle delivery service. Can we add that to frogbogs.com? I feel like they go well together.
Wouldn't it be amazing if like if it was like olden times where like every different thing we ordered was a
Had
different
a delivery man.
service?
Yeah. That'd
Like
be
you
good.
had your like soda water guy and like your milk guy.
I'd
and
have so many
cat
guys.
food guy.
your- yeah.
Ugh.
Guy not being ascribed to any gender, of course.
Right. So her family truly believed her life was turning a corner. And Denise's sister Deborah noted that after moving in with Theodore in October of 1991, she seemed to be getting her substance use disorder under control and was reconnecting with her oldest daughter, the one who lived with her own mother, after several tumultuous years, and as well as looking for work and actively interviewing for jobs. So like things were going well. She had some stability.
She was on the upswing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the coupling was short-lived, and Denise moved out of Theodore's apartment after about 2 weeks. We don't know why. But she moved out. She returned to sex work to sustain her and just be able to like stay in hotels and like eat, just live.
Yeah, survival sex work. Yeah.
Exactly. So this was the last that Deborah had heard from Denise, and Deborah said through tears that they had fought over her return to sex work, and that their fight was their last interaction, which is so heartbreaking.
So basically, the reason the neighbor didn't report her missing was that she was already
She's a
out
streets
of that
girl.
apartment.
And a cranky bitch.
Yeah, but she didn't have like a home that she wasn't showing up
Well,
to.
I don't think the neighbor is a neighbor of Theodore's, because she only lived in Theodore's
That's what I'm
apartment for
saying.
about 2 weeks.
That's what I'm saying. So the neighbor, the
They're-
old cranky bitch, is a previous neighbor.
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
Denise and her family, like her mom and I think some of her siblings, all kind of lived on and around the same block in the Kensington neighborhood of Philly. So people like knew who Denise was and like knew her family. So I would imagine that this neighbor who had a lot of fucking opinions and really wanted to be in the paper but anonymously was probably someone who lived on that block in Kensington.
Gotcha.
So Theodore was immediately a person of interest and was interviewed by police. So this is from the Washington Post. Quote, a friend told police that the pizza delivery man, who was 24 at the time, had previously made alarming comments about how Kolb was, quote, not coming back. Although Donahue denied any involvement, he admitted that his nickname was Ted Bundy.
Oh.
His email handle was literally Ted Bundy 1967. So his favorite murderer plus his own birth year. Like that was his AOL name. Yeah.
I hate it. However, I feel like I've said things that really don't age well. I've never been accused of murder.
Right.
Like maybe that was a joke. His name was Ted.
There's something different between us having referring to Ted Bundy because we work in true crime podcasting and random
also have
pizza
always been
delivery
obsessed
man.
with, like,
Correct.
murder
But
stuff.
random pizza delivery man who is now like a number one murder suspect and stumbling upon the detail that his like AIM screen name is Ted Bundy 1967.
I guess my point is I'm not one to pass judgment on this specific detail.
Of course not. But I'm going to.
I will hypocritically pass judgment on it.
1,000%. 1,000%. And he repeatedly called police the days after his interview to ask about the autopsy results. So he was like nervous and like wanting details.
How long have they been dating?
I don't know how long they were dating, but they lived together
weeks.
for 2 weeks. But they'd probably been dating longer. Okay. He also offered to help with the investigation in what detectives described as a nervous manner.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. End quote. Anyway, he had also paid a visit to Denise's mother, dropping off a large bundle of items that had belonged to Denise that were left in his apartment. But all of these...
Presuming she's already dead. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Was he playing Look at Me, I'm Guilty bingo?
I mean, it would appear
like
so. And we'll get to it about the clothing delivery / return. But all of these circumstantial pieces of the puzzle were not enough to mount a case against him, and the case went cold. Despite being revisited by investigators, cash rewards being offered for new leads, and families still holding out for justice, nothing happened. And this is why I don't think this ended up being a Forensic Files episode, because decades went by without any new leads or arrests in this case.
I also just Googled the Sock Forensic Files episode. It's out of Florida, not Philly.
Because this case gets looked at again in 2015, and that's where like the forensic photography stuff kind of starts to come into play.
Okay.
So
if you're curious, though, that Forensic Files episode is called Cold Feet.
Okay, well, yes.
You know, I love a Forensic Files episode that has
With
a body part,
name. Mm-hmm.
a body part in the title. It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be real good. Maroon Fibers and the Cold Feet, a Forensic Files story. So in 2015, the Pennsylvania State Police decided to put new eyes on this case. So they led new investigators like onto this case and were like, this has been cold for fucking 20 years. Mm-hmm. Please just look at this shit. Mm-hmm. So they start retracing the steps of the previous team that had been working on this case. This, of course, brings their eyes back to Theodore, and they reached out to him for an interview, which he agreed to. When Theodore had first been interviewed by investigators, he said that he had seen Denise last on October 18th, 1991. He alleged that the two of them purchased and then used crack together before being held up at knife point on the street and robbed. He said that she ran to get help after that incident and he never saw her again. But all these years later, in this follow-up, he admitted that he had lied to investigators about the drugs and robbery that night. That he had seen her outside of a bar that day, but that was the last he saw her, and he didn't want to be looked at as a suspect, so he just made up some story that he knew people would believe because she was a streets girl.
So the lie was that he had only seen her at the bar, not that they had smoked crack on
the lie was that they had smoked crack, got held up at gunpoint, and she ran off to get help, and then he never saw her again.
The lie was we got robbed, and I never saw her again.
Which could have been like maybe the guy with the knife went after her or whatever. Like that was the lie. Okay. He had seen her. He had seen her at a bar, and maybe they did use together. I don't know. But all that shit about them like buying crack and getting held up on the street was a lie.
Okay. And also, obviously, she didn't move out of his place after just 2 weeks because like she wanted to use and he didn't want to use.
Right, because
both using.
Exactly.
So there must have been some other argument or something. Mm-hmm. Or murder.
So all these years later in this follow-up, like I said, he admitted that he lied about this, but he maintained that he had nothing to do with her murder. So investigators kept combing through all of this information that had already been compiled about him, interviewing friends and family of his, and they were convinced that he was connected to this case, but they needed like something solid. Mm-hmm. Turns out he had told friends and family some stories as well, including that he knew Denise was strangled, even though that detail was never released because the coroner's report was inconclusive. So they never released that there was suspected asphyxiation because they couldn't confirm it.
How was
And
it recorded that the coroner suspected asphyxiation?
They could say
He
possible
put it in,
asphyxiation.
yeah, he put it in
inconclusive.
his report.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's stuff like that all the time. But, and also, even if it had been conclusive, it's like a known tactic of investigators to not release stuff
that
like
info.
that.
Right.
So
And he was trying to weasel in there and get the coroner's info.
He wants to know what they knew.
Right.
I kind
He
of
was
thought
trying
that
to do that.
coroner reports were public record.
I don't think so. Not necessarily in murder cases because it can hinder investigations for that exact reason.
They could choose to make them public. But
Yeah, I think they can be sealed during an active investigation.
Ah, there we go. Okay.
So, and he also told stories that she had died in his apartment in Philadelphia. So, original police reports had the photographs from the crime scene as well as photographs of the items belonging to Denise that Theodore had returned to Denise's mother, one of which was a single yellow sock. So they actually had the physical clothing that had been returned to Denise's mother. Sorry, I misspoke. And then they had photographs of the crime scene. There's one sock in the photo in the crime scene, and then there is a single sock among the items that he returned.
Oh my God.
Who wears one sock? No one.
So, considering
my
that
God.
they knew this at the time of the original investigation, right? And considering there are some interviews with like more current members of the police force that were investigating this that were like, I don't know why investigators didn't look deeper at this. Like this jumped out at us like crazy. But one of the things that they thought was that because the two were living together, it didn't raise that many red flags that like a yellow sock, maybe she had multiple pairs of yellow socks, we don't know. And it ended up in her belongings that Theodore returned to her mother. You know what I mean? Like it's still circumstantial enough that like a good lawyer could definitely poke holes in that.
Right.
Yeah.
But along with other evidence, it's damning as fuck. So
I wouldn't be able to get him on just that.
no. Absolutely not. But, you know, all these years later, investigators felt that the sock is like a big piece of the puzzle to focus on. Like, why would Denise leave her apartment with only one sock? It's so much more likely that she was killed while wearing the socks, both socks, and that like one was taken by the killer, or that she was like killed in the apartment where she lived and she had only like had a chance to put on one sock before she got fucking strangled. So both of those situations are a lot more like linear and reasonable than she left the house with only one sock on.
She was so quirky.
Yeah,
We
it was
called
just
her
the weirdest
One
thing.
Sock Denise.
One sock streets girl.
Uncomfortable though.
So uncomfortable.
I don't like feeling asymmetrical like that.
No.
My
I don't
tits
mind if
are
they
bad
don't
enough.
match, but it's like two socks or no socks, not one or the other.
Yeah.
So if investigators could prove that the sock was a match to the one in the evidence photo of the crime scene, they felt strongly that then, with the other evidence that they had, they could make an arrest. But the crime scene photos were taken in 1991, and the advancement in photo technology had come leaps and bounds since the grainy and uneven color of the 90s. Confirming that the sock was a match would take some serious photo technology. So investigators decided to reach out to Professor Brian Wolf of Temple University's photography department, and the entire department dropped everything to help.
Cool.
So in 2015, Brian and his team took on the challenge of enhancing the original crime scene photos after 30 years of storage. This is from TempleNews.com. Quote, the crime scene photos were of poor, grainy quality, making it difficult for investigators to draw conclusions and piece together evidence. You couldn't see much of anything, and that was pretty common in the 90s, Wolf said. They made quick reference photographs, and the film had probably been processed in a drugstore.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I know. Wolf had to improve the quality of the 35 millimeter negatives to be more coherent. He used a high resolution scanner. Though Wolf's photo technique wasn't new technology, his equipment was much more advanced than what was typically used by police departments. Because this is like a whole university department devoted only to photography. So they're going to have a better budget for that kind of equipment.
It's also really, well, it's possible how easy it is or not, I don't know. But like when you have your negative, you have to like manually focus it to produce your print. So it's possible that like maybe either their equipment at the time couldn't be focused very reliably,
Or
or
if they
that
had
it
it
just
developed at a
wasn't
drugstore.
focused very reliably.
Yeah, whoever worked at the
Or,
drugstore
like-
isn't like a photography professional.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It's
now with
a
those
teenager
photo
like
processing,
Lucy at Pro X.
Right.
yes, I have strong
But Lucy
feelings
would've
about
done
this
a good
because
job.
I did work. I love.
She would have done a good job.
You would have done a really good job.
When I worked there in 2002, 2003, there were machines that did all that focusing for you. But in the early 90s, that all would have been
91.
done manually. So if you can have the
Exactly.
negatives, there's a good likelihood that you can get something better out of it. And I'm assuming that's where you're going with
Which,
this.
like, thank God that they still had the evidence, the negatives in evidence,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if they were just trying to enhance the developed photo, I don't
blurry
think we
90s
ever would have
photo.
gotten there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, quote, I made really high resolution scans and I did what I could to compensate for the poor exposures. And they could actually see what was in the pictures. Wolf's restoration of the photos proved to be an imperative component in solving the case, said Anthony Voci, who's chief of the homicide unit at the district attorney's office of Philadelphia.
This also is making a lot more sense to me how they can like enhance old movies and like digitally remaster.
Using like the original film.
I never understood how they were able to do that, and now I do.
Yeah, that does make a lot
Computers.
more sense.
It's amazing.
Turns out humans are very fallible.
Nailed it. So investigators concluded from the photos that the yellow sock found on Kolb's body was an exact match to a yellow sock that was found among the things in Donahue's apartment. This new confirmation, coupled with Theodore's changing alibi and testimony from folks close to him, like how he said, JK,
Died
that
in my
wasn't true.
apartment.
Yeah, or JK, we weren't
smoked crack
robbed.
on the street. Yeah.
Was enough to make an arrest. Now, almost 30 years since her murder. He's just been living his life.
Wow.
One detail that I didn't want to give away earlier that was that, like, when Theodore brought Denise's things over to her mother's house, this was a day before the family had been notified of her death, and he only did it because he saw a newspaper article saying that an unidentified woman had been found in Delaware County, and he fucking knew it was her. Because it was like, woman,
my
unidentified
God.
remains
So
found
he was
in this
like,
area.
oh shit, I gotta offload all her stuff.
Exactly. Which, like, hey, stupid. That was
Right.
really stupid. Like, it's
how
way
long
more.
was she missing? Like months?
a month. She was out there, they think, from how much she had decomposed, that she'd been out there for
right.
about a month.
And somebody that
God.
didn't fucking kill her wouldn't know that a woman out in a different county 30
Must
miles
have
away
been the
was
woman
her.
I definitely didn't kill.
He would have been hoping for her safe return, and I'm going to keep her bedroom the same way she left it.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Isn't that
But
bonkers?
also so bonkers, but also circumstantial.
She's been gone. She
Yeah.
moved out. Like,
Right.
I haven't heard from her.
Right.
Here's a bunch of her stuff.
Right.
And she wasn't reported missing. Her family, she just got in a fight with her sister about how she's returning to sex work. Her family is probably not in close contact with
Super
her, and
alarmed,
not hearing from her for
necessarily.
30 days. Yeah, she's an adult woman with a history of substance use disorder.
If this guy hadn't been such a fucking moron,
We may have
and
never
if this
known.
photo technology hadn't existed, we would have never known.
Thank God he's a fucking idiot and
Please
we
tell
have the
me
technology.
he got convicted.
Oh,
Please.
honey, we'll get to it.
Oh, God.
So Theodore was finally brought in on charges of murder and mutilation of a corpse, obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence, and filing false police reports. He was ordered to be held for trial in September of 2019. So the judge was like,
So recent.
yes. So the judge was like, you are not safe to be in the community. You've also been fucking free for 30 years as a murderer. You're going to wait in prison.
What was
for
the
your trial.
mutilation? Just the moving of the body?
I think moving her around, her clothing had been taken off, but then like piled on top of her.
Oh.
It was just like not, I don't know.
But she wasn't like raped post-mortem or anything like that.
I honestly don't know because those details were not included in like any of the
And
stuff
it had been
that
a
I looked
month
at.
that the body was left out. But it could have been that he removed the clothes of the body to make
Remove
it
the clothes,
look like she
and
had
if he
been.
killed her in his apartment and then moved her, I mean, I think at this point they're like, fuck you. You've been walking free for 30 years. I'm going to tack on every charge I can make stick.
With shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess I need to Google what constitutes mutilation of a corpse, because I feel like that's kind of a very broad blanket term.
Agreed. And it might be broad intentionally for like exact moments like this to just stack charges.
Right.
So anyway, he's ordered to be held for trial in September of 2019, and then COVID hits before he can even make it to trial. Mm-hmm. So he's just at this point, he's just sitting in prison while courts are like, JK, we're not doing this.
Right. His bond was denied and he's just waiting for trial.
And then he died in prison before the trial began.
How?
And
we don't know. We don't know. His cause of death wasn't listed in any of the articles I read. The articles I read were like, suspect dies while in custody for this murder. And then in the article, it's like, the cause of death has not been disclosed.
But he would have been in like his 40s or 50s?
Oh, yeah. Easily. He was 24 in 1991 when he murdered her. And then math. He's in his 50s. We can
figure this out.
51. I only know that because it's 2021.
There you go.
Wait.
That's not
He would have been 50.
In his 50s. 30 years plus 24 is 54.
Right.
So he's 54. Or was when he died. 1991 to 2021 is 30 years. 54.
50.
So,
but he wasn't like 90 years old, is my point. He was didn't
54.
die of natural causes.
Probably he might have gotten COVID. Like, I don't know. We don't know what his health was.
It could have been anything. It could have been hepatitis. Who fucking knows?
We have no clue what his health was like when he was arrested.
Right.
I have no idea. I mean, there's a photo of him like on the drive being arrested. Dude doesn't look like a pinnacle of health, but he also doesn't look like he's about to drop dead at any moment. So, like, I don't know.
I am
you
also
can't,
all
the patterns.
for mixing and matching prints, but
Sure.
The prints in his outfit.
Do not.
Yeah, if you're getting photographed
There's a way to do it
as you're being arrested, like, really, this is the thing. Think about your fashion choices every day because you do not know when
you're going to be hauled
off to jail. And then that photo
a striped collared polo, short sleeved with like that sort of pixelated camo short.
Yeah, it's not good. It's black and gray pixelated camo and then a gradient navy blue striped
and then like
horizontal
your lawn
sir, which are not.
I was just gonna say like dad white New Balances, but like the lowest tier pair for mowing
the ones he mows the lawn in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's a fit.
It's a fit.
So he dies in prison before trial, and quote, the district attorney's office says they will not be proceeding with the case following Donahue's passing, and it will be marked in the public record as not having resulted in a conviction.
What? They won't convict him posthumously?
Nope. They're not going to bother. Which I think is so fucked up. We're convicting him posthumously. Yeah. He fucking did it. He fully did it. They have enough evidence to convict him and bring some fucking justice to her family. I think that's a bullshit call. I hope they look into
this guy even though he's dead and they see if he has any other victims or any other like weird shit because
you don't ever just kill just one person.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true because this was an intimate partner and that I think the one-offs in that department do happen.
Okay, I'll put it this way.
And
you don't
both were
ever
engaging in some high-risk behavior.
Just one person.
Right.
This is an assault that ended in murder, but I do not believe that he was not an abusive person his whole life.
It's highly, highly probable, not even possible, that if you are able to escalate to a point. But, you know, and I'm not defending this guy. There's just so little that we know, and now he's dead. Like, if they were actively using together and they got into an argument, things could have gotten violent that typically wouldn't have if they were both not under the, well, if he wasn't under the influence of drugs. Like, there are different
we just don't know
things.
Exactly
we just
what
don't
happened,
know.
But we know
he killed her.
Yeah, we know he fucking killed her and
it's
moved her body out
egregious that
there.
they wouldn't at least, it's not even like there's going to be a trial. It's like just for court record. Just like give the family that.
Right.
They waited 30 years for this fucking answer and then he dies in prison.
You know what we do know that's a huge red flag? That is not even circumstantial.
A huge yellow flag.
Those shorts.
That his middle name is Dill.
Ugh. It only belongs
Okay,
on
but
a pickle,
I really
honey.
like dill, though. Not as a name.
Yeah, no,
but
as an herb.
Yeah.
Anyway, like
With
I
a
said,
pickle.
his death wasn't listed in any articles I read. I don't know how he died, but that's my case.
Well, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Now I have two assholes that I need to research more. Theodore
Fuck
Dill.
you
what was his
and
last-
your shorts.
What was his last name?
Donahue.
Donahue. Jack Donahue.
All right.
Ted Bundy Dill Donahue.
Ugh.
I have a lot of research I need to dill right now.
Deal with.
So
So
we better get on it.
Let's do it.
Well,
All right.
this was a really good topic, and kudos to
was.
us for picking
Yeah,
it.
special thanks to us.
special thanks to us. And to all of you for listening. Thank you
Well,
so
yeah.
much.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And we will see you next week.
Yes, we will. Bye-bye.